introduce Professor Parmesan.
All right, so a little background on Professor Parmesan. Solomon Parmesan is the president and co-founder of SCMB Educational Consulting. SCMB Educational Consulting espouses the use of mediums such as hip-hop culture to educate poorly motivated students. Mr. Parmesan is an educator on the university level where he teaches a course based on hip-hop culture, Africana studies, media literacy, and social issues. He is a skilled and passionate orator who engages his audience as he demonstrates in the content of his presentations, the style and commitment that has won him popularity among fellow educators and a wide range of student populations. Solomon is also the author of several books and dozens of articles ranging from social justice issues to Black history. He's also, as Marshall mentioned earlier, the assistant director of the Brutality Cultural Center. Parmesan's personal and pedagogical philosophies influence the content of his lectures and training sessions. Mr. Parmesan is passionate about improving education as well as developing ways to ensure that all students will have an equal opportunity to learn. Parmesan believes that learning can occur best by means most familiar to the student. He uses a familiar base to jumpstart learning the unfamiliar. Parmesan has appeared as a keynote speaker for major conferences in schools throughout the United States and internationally. Parmesan is an independent journalist and the host of the Your World News radio show and Critical Insights online video program. Can we give a round of applause?
You see this right here. You guys are familiar with Eric Garner, I'm sure Michael Brown, should be, you should be. We can dip a little bit more into the past. We can look at Oscar Grant, Fruitvale Station. Hopefully you've seen that movie, Oscar Grant. And look at this. This is important, really important. This little, and this goes back to the media. Trust me, this goes right back to the media. This little beautiful Black girl was no longer alive. She's no longer alive. She died in 2010. She died in 2010 in Detroit. And I'll mention the murderer. Her murderer was an officer by the name of Officer Joseph Weekley, Detroit Police Department. And they bust into her house. Oh, we're looking for a suspect. Guess what the end story was, is that wrong house. There was no suspect in there. Suspect wasn't her daddy, wasn't her mama. Her dad was thrown to the ground and they bust in and shot. She's laying on the couch peacefully. A bullet enters the base of her head and goes out. And she bleeds to death in front of her dad, in front of her family and her grandma. I appreciate that look on your face because you should be disgusted and you should be saddened. This was a 7-year-old little girl. I shouldn't even have to say the 7-year-old Black girl. Because trust me, if it was a 7-year-old white girl, it would have been on Newsweek and you would know her name. You would know her name right now. You would know her name, just like most people still to this day that were not even alive when John Benet Ramsey went missing. Know her name. You would know her name. But because she came from an impoverished community and because she's Black, you don't know her name. Because the media didn't give a damn. And that officer didn't stand one day in jail. Not one day in jail or prison. And guess what? He got his damn job back. He got his damn job back after a year plus. She's dead. And guess how this happens? It happens because the media plays a significant role in drumming up, oh, these hyper-violent Black men, these hyper-violent Black women, this hyper-violent community. Because in white communities, as you know, I know Dr. Richardson got into this, I know he did, about the drug rates, the drug usage rates, that whites and Blacks and Latinos use drugs at pretty much the same rate across the board, give or take a little small percentage rate, and if we do that, whites maybe a little bit more. That's not happening in rural white communities where they're going in there hyper-policing, where the drug issue, drug sales, drug usage are just as high as the inner city. It's not happening there. They didn't bust into someplace in Potomac or Columbia, Maryland. They didn't bust up in there. No, hell no. No, they didn't. Because these niggers are expendable. They're expendable. Even a little Black girl, she's expendable. Expendable. That's their process of thought. And I say it plain because it needs to be made plain. And if it's hard for you to understand, well, it's hard for her parents to live without their daughter right now. It's hard for her because she's 6 feet deep right now. We don't need this, but we do have media scholars who have long said media representations play a role in people's understanding of social reality. We know this. We know going to the Kerner Commission, Otto Kerner, Senator Otto Kerner was the chairman, and long story short, this was something that was commissioned by the U.S. government, from the top down, from the White House down, and they found out that media representations play a major role in racism and these types of things, that they play a major role. If you get a chance, look up the Kerner Commission. You can Google it, look at this, there's no shortage of articles. Look up the Kerner Commission. Kerner Commission. All right, so this is not news. This is not new, but it's new because, to a lot of folks, because it's been methodically and purposely. Ed Bernays. Anybody know who Ed Bernays is? Ed Bernays, I bet you all know who Sigmund Freud is, though, right? Well, this is Sigmund Freud's nephew. Ed Bernays is Sigmund Freud's nephew. And Ed Bernays is significant, is just as significant within his field of expertise as Sigmund Freud. Ed Bernays is known as the father of public relations in this country. He's known as the father of public relations in this country. He's not a friend of yours or mine because we are not in that what's they call that pay grade. We're not in that pay grade. But he worked, so for instance, he's the person that's responsible. Every time you see a commercial and it says 4 out of 5 doctors or 3 out of 5 dentists say brushing your teeth with Crest is a great idea, or 4 out of 5 doctors say starting your day with such and such is the start to a healthy day. He's the one who was hired by the pork industry. They wanted to send more. They wanted to sell more bacon, and they said, "Help us sell more bacon." And he said, "What we'll do is we'll handpick, but we're not going to pull them. We're going to take a few doctors that we know are friendly to us, and then we'll pay them, and they'll say such and such, and then we can say 4 out of 5 doctors say starting your day with 2 strips of bacon is the start of a healthy start to your day." And within 6 months, their sales skyrocketed. He was hired by Viceroy Cigarettes. Viceroy Cigarettes. They're like, "Listen, we got to tap into this. Women, that's an untapped niche. We got to get women to smoke more cigarettes. How do we do that? How do we do that?" Got it. Macy's Day Parade. We're gonna hire some models wearing fur coats, walking around very luxuriously, walking around like this, and the women that see them, the average woman that sees them smoking these cigarettes, are gonna say, "Wow, oh, that's cool. Because women weren't smoking cigarettes in public. It was a faux pas or taboo for women to smoke cigarettes in public." And then, boom, it worked. He was hired by the U.S. government, by Woodrow Wilson, the racist piece of crap Woodrow Wilson. He is one of the most racist human beings, that we can think. If you heard the movie Birth of a Nation, I mean, he thought it was a great, great movie. He was extremely racist. I'm not, just making that up. He was a vicious racist. But he was hired by Woodrow Wilson under the Creel Commission, Senator George Creel. And the Creel Commission was to try to find a way, because remember, World War I, you history scholars, World War I, the U.S. didn't get into World War I right away. And so they wanted to find a way to bump up public consent for the U.S. to get into World War I. And so he came up with a slogan. Long story short, he came up with a slogan that still exists to this day and still works to this day. The brilliant Ed Bernays was no friend of ours, but still brilliant. You must respect your opponent. He comes up with a phrase: support our troops. Support our troops. That's him right there. If you're ever on Jeopardy and Alex Trebek asks you that, support our troops. That's Ed Bernays, and it worked. And it worked. If you grow up in a certain community, and there's the drug dealer, oftentimes the conversation is, in order to solve this drug issue, we got to get rid of the drug dealer. We got to get rid of the drug dealer. The big drug, not the dope boy, not the little, who's hustling for him. The big cat, we got to get rid of him. Well, I like to compare and contrast that. So to me, the dope peddler for that psychological dope, because oftentimes even some of us who recognize the impact of these ratchet songs and these videos, they have the great beat, the dope beat that, I know it's intoxicating. And then the next thing you know, you forget about the lyrics that you're listening to. But even those of us in this room who have had those conversations with your homegirls, your homeboys, and have said, "Damn, man, I mean, this calling us bitches and hoes and this, that, and the other, and such and such. We all, this dude is such and such, and Cardi B, and she's this, and it's important to have that discussion, to say, okay, there needs to be more social responsibility, but obviously that's not going to happen until fans start to go through social media and actually start to put out these campaigns and trying to push artists to actually think twice, think a little bit more about the lyrics they're putting out. But here, you can go higher. The conversation usually stops there. It doesn't go higher where it needs to go. As we were before, as you were nodding your head, sister, about the big drug dealer. When we're talking about some of those, whether it's Jeezy or Lil Wayne or whoever, those are like the little hustlers on the block. We're not going up to the big drug dealer. You want to go back up? You want to go to the big drug dealer? You want to go to the top of the food chain. You want to go to the corporate execs that run Universal Music Group, Sony Music Group. That's where you want to go, because they're the ones that are often protected. No one's talking about them. No one's thinking about them. Those are the guys, the white guys, mostly white guys in three-piece suits that are making the conscious decision. They're green-lighting it. They see it. Of course they see it, because they're the ones that nix any song. You remember Young Buck, who was down with G-Unit when G-Unit was in Universal Music Group, and he was and he was under Interscope, under 50 Cent. You remember that? He wasn't the most conscious rapper, no. But remember, there was well, maybe you don't remember because it never made to his album. There is a lyrics committee on every single album that is put out. And the people that are on those lyrics committees are people that most of them never even grew up around hip hop. They just want to make a lot of money off of hip hop. And they will say, yes, this song gets greenlighted, this song gets put on that album, this song. He had a song called Fuck the Police. He decided, I'm going to step out my lane a little bit, and I'm going to talk about police brutality. I'm going to step outside my lane a little bit, and I'm going to have a song about police brutality, mixed in there with all the other ratchet shit that I have in my album. I'm going to step outside my lane. Has a song called Fuck the Police. Just like NWA had a song called Fuck the Police. Guess what? Guess what? That lyrics committee said, no. Hell no, that's not going to. No, you know what their response was? That's too political. We can't have that there. But what the interesting thing is, and I want especially every black woman in this room, every woman of color, to think about it long and hard, and take it personal. That's not considered too political. But that same lyrics committee, those lyrics that were in that same album, that referred to you as bitches and whores and sluts, the same way slave masters referred to you as the Jezebel. And as we know, your ancestors were raped. They don't find that too political, do they? They don't find that too political because you're an expendable commodity anyways. And they say, just put it over dope beat, they'll listen to it, they'll eat it up. And that message even goes beyond black women, women of color. It goes on to white women in this room, and white men, and to black men like myself and Marshall and David. It goes on to all of us, all of us, all of us. If they gave a damn about hip-hop, they would be telling their listeners almost on a daily basis. The founding principles of hip-hop are peace, love, unity, and having fun. Now, why can't they do that? They can't do that because you can't justify having a bunch of videos that are referring to women, mostly black and Latino women, as bitches and hoes and sluts and prostitutes. You can't and say that hip-hop is peace, love, unity, and having fun, and then you're displaying stuff that I don't see anything peaceful, unified, or having fun about, about lyrics or videos that that contribute to a rape culture. No doubt about it, they contribute to a rape culture. They can't do that while showing videos that, of just discussions and images of just senseless violence. I don't even know you, but I'm going to blow your head off. I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to dress it up in certain lyrics, and I'm just going to fill you with caps, because that's, instead of saying, like, how can we build? Just like, back in the late 80s, early 90s, you had songs about that were about unification. Some of the names that we learned from the golden era are right here. These are names that were littered in hip-hop songs so that you were getting what you weren't getting in class. Matter of fact, most college classrooms throughout the United States, even at big universities like the University of Maryland, far and few between can you take certain courses maybe outside of African American studies that you'll get some of these names. I mean, these are all names. These are the names that were being dropped during the golden era. And so now you look at the hip hop, I mean the corporate name drop. No shying away from that. You've heard the songs. Learning about Air Force Ones, Cristal, all these different products, most of which many of us in this room could not afford. So just learning about diamonds, and not from the standpoint of learning about what conflict diamonds are and okay, I don't need to just chase. And that's a really interesting story for everybody in here, how diamonds became you guys know this, that diamonds aren't the most precious mineral. You know that back in the 40s and 50s there was a whole marketing scheme to get people to believe that diamonds and to push and say, okay, this is the rock that we're going to use as a term of engagement, and you have to, and that whole thing about you have to spend, the man has to spend, or the partner has to spend 2 months of their salary. That was even created by corporate executives, because they knew how, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, they knew how easily manipulated American consumers were. They knew that they weren't going to do the research. They knew that if they flashed it on TV, in the newspapers, on radio enough times, they would buy into it. Literally and figuratively, they would buy into it. And so it's no different. The same blueprint's used. The font rarely changes. That's how often the blueprint is used. Some of the issues that were discussed in the golden era are some of the issues that you've learned from Dr. Richardson this semester. Police brutality, rampant poverty. These are all things that were issues, global issues, apartheid, imperialism, politics, the military-industrial complex. Without your even say-so, 54% of your federal tax dollars go to a over-bloated military that is the largest military in the world, and an imperial force, and the preeminent imperial force in the globe today. And I wonder how much you could actually cut it in half, and the U.S. would still have the largest military, bigger than China, bigger than Russia. And you could cut it in half, and imagine what you could do with half that. That could go to public works, that could go to rebuilding school systems. Damn it, that could go to saving 45,000 lives a year with universal health care, Medicare for all. This country right now, 44,000 Americans die every single year because they have no health care. There is no health care. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, that was like a little tiny Band-Aid. That's not Medicare for all. That's not what your Canadian brothers and sisters have. That's not what they have in Norway, Denmark, Germany, France, Cuba. That's not what we have. We don't have that. We don't have that. And don't believe that the money's not there. Of course the money's there. So, interesting, today in rap music, these same issues are discussed. Same issues are discussed. The same issues are discussed today in hip-hop music. And I say hip-hop music because rap, don't just say hip-hop when you're talking about the music, because hip-hop is a culture. Rap is something that is done within the culture. Remember, that's why we had those elements flashed up before. So if you're going to say something, say hip-hop music, but just don't say hip-hop and think that it's supposed to define the music. Hip-hop is the entire culture. And rap is an acronym. Rap stands for rhythm and poetry. Rhythm and poetry. That's what rap stands for. That's what rap is. It's an acronym, rhythm and poetry. Gentrification, all these different things are discussed in hip-hop songs today, but not the hip-hop songs, not the rap songs that you hear on the radio. And of all hip-hop that emanates from the United States is never played on the mainstream airwaves. I wonder why. So yeah, some of it is just as ratchet as what you hear on the radio, and then a lot of it is not. A lot of it is not. A lot of it is not. A lot of it is critical discourse and critical analysis in a funky way that has you bobbing your head just like other songs would, but at the same time feeding you information about what's going on in society, an analysis of things like capitalism, an analysis of things like misogyny, sexism, an analysis of a range of different things are within these songs that are not being played. And when you email me, I will send you YouTube links of artists that I think that you will really like, but are not played on the radio. And as you listen to that, you should get pissed off, because you would probably sit there like, why the hell? These cats are dope. Why are they not played? And then that's when you will start scratching your head. Okay, yeah, the fix is in. I understand now. Okay, so we'll fast forward. I'm sure you guys have learned this as well. Looking at the likelihood of people who potentially will be incarcerated. And you can see the large disparity between people of color and people who are the numerical majority in this country, white folks. And so whether you're black, white, green, purple, what have you, if you're a good human being, it doesn't matter if you're white, you should look at this and say, damn, that's wrong. It doesn't matter, I don't have to be a woman to understand that rape and sexual abuse is wrong. And there's something wrong with me if my first instinct when I hear women talking about misogyny and sexism, there's something really deep down wretched with me, my soul. If my first visceral instinct is say, hey Sally, hey Teresa, hey, I didn't do it. If my first instinct is to flinch up and like I have to defend myself, I'm becoming defensive. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. So if you're not a part of the group that's up there that is facing social injustices, and your first thing is to get defensive. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. There's you got to check yourself. You got to check yourself, because my first instinct, the way I was raised was, damn, when I learn about this stuff, is that I understand that I'm a man. And that, so these are my homeboys over here, I'm not saying that they would ever do this. I know they wouldn't, I know these brothers. But when I go with them, if they were just, hey, look at that bitch over there, look at that hoe. After I've learned this from Teresa and Sally, it's my job to speak up and say, listen, brother, do you know her? Do you know her? If that was your mama, would you want someone saying that about her? Would you want someone saying about that? Saying that about her? Because you guys have probably been polluted with a lot of misinformation about the great Malcolm X and thinking that he was some kind of satanic, figure. Malcolm X was one of the greatest, is one of my heroes, bar none. He said, white folks that want to work on behalf of this movement to end social injustices, that want to end white supremacy, the best way they can do that is to go into white communities and talk and break down racism where they live. Because he knew he couldn't go in there. They would just label him as an angry black man. But if somebody from that community goes there and starts to initiate those conversations, then we have a potential to go someplace. Just like I initiated that conversation with my two homeboys here to try to check them. I've done a lot of work literally behind bars, not just here, but also in Oakland, California. I had the opportunity to go out there and take about 20 students out there to study the prison industrial complex, and had an opportunity to go into a juvenile prison that warehoused young boys and girls. They had two different wings, and it's beyond sad seeing 13 and 12-year-olds walk out in shackles, like shackles, before I spoke to them, before my students spoke to them, and walking out in shackles and then being unshackled and sitting down. It was very, very, very painful. And then on top of that, right there, you visually see. The eye test told you, I would say like 98% of them were either black or Latino. Easily. Prison industrial, the PIC is the prison industrial complex monster, is what I'm referring to. You know that being expelled, there's certain things that you can do today, because I also have the opportunity to go into a lot of different school systems, Baltimore, Seattle's public school system. I've been all around. And within these school systems, things that Marshall and I used to do that would get us a detention back in the day, now will get you expelled. And then you got mama or daddy, or you have a single household, a single parent household, and they got to work. And so that young man or that young woman that boy or that girl is now home alone with all the different distractions, all the different things preying upon them and their attention. It's not a good thing. And then in some cases, you get adjudicated, as you know, as Dr. Richardson has probably told you. You can get adjudicated, all right? And your prison, your record, not your prison, but your record starts right there from things that are done in school, all right? And I'm really happy, that when murder is committed in this country, that especially if a white person is killed, A lot of people believe that when a white person is murdered, that the person that murders them is a black or Latino man. And as we know, people tend to murder and kill within their group. So 86% of people that are murdered in white communities are murdered by somebody that looks like them that are white. Same thing in black communities and Latino communities. And so we should be against murder in general, but that whole, all this, you know, the misnomers and even the racist terms like black on black crime. No one ever says, well, you just said this, no one ever says white on white crime. We gotta solve white on white crime, right? It's a very, very loaded term. 1996 factor real quick as we draw to a close. I want you to understand, because maybe someone's sitting there thinking, oh man, black folks own a lot of radio stations. No, they don't. 0%. I'm being liberal with the number. I'm being liberal with the number. That's an old stat. My bad as a scholar. Why did I put that up there? It's actually down closer to about 0.2% now. About zero. So, but let's just be, okay, let's just be liberal, all right? 0.6% of all television stations, broadcast television stations in this country are owned by black folks. And then if somebody in their head is saying, well, you can throw all of them. Let's throw them all in one bucket. All people of color in this country. Then we get to the whopping number of 3% of all people of color own television stations. Radio doesn't get much better. And this is an old stat, but it's just gotten worse. So what you see here, it's just gotten worse. It's gotten worse. So right here, we have all people of color. We're talking about right here, 7.8% of all people of color own radio stations, 3.4% black. It's decreased now. That number has decreased, has decreased. It has shrunk over time. So the same way, if Marshall and David and my man right here from the old school, your name? Vince. And my man right here? Nick. All right, I like your I like both of you. I like your eye contact and your body movement, all that stuff. I feel that if I was MC, I'd be rocking the joint right now, just based on how the two of you guys are moving. But if all of us were here, this group of 5 men were to say, okay, let's make a documentary, let's make a movie about women, let's make something about women. How can, even if we're a good intention, how can we honestly make something about women and we don't have any women a part of our executive group? How is that possible? But that's what happens. That's what happens. That's what happens. That is what happens. You know these images are viciously racist. When they couldn't find a blackface, you found somebody like Al Jolson, a white man who made tons and tons of money dressing up as black men and shucking and jiving and acting, you know, like what he wanted and what much of white society wanted to be the prevalent image of black people, to be you know, shiftless and stupid and so forth, you know. And so they couldn't find a black actor, you know, you had no shortage of white actors that would be playing the minstrel show, dressing up in blackface. So these are all, you know, these images are all extremely racist. Coon is like another name for nigger. At the same time, you had these folks that were alive. Think about it. They didn't ask these people that were selling laundry soap and all these different products and using, you know, using these racist images to sell products. They didn't ask any of these people or use their likenesses to grace the cover. No. Why? Because these people represented the antithesis of what the prevalent understanding within white America of black people was. These people were strong, outspoken, social justice oriented, Pan-Africanist, womanist, not feminist, womanist, you know, Ida B. Wells, anti-lynching, I mean, crusader, strong sister, W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, Bessie Smith, Fannie Lou Hamer, A. Philip Randolph. No, they didn't want to use those. We don't want that. So we know the truth. And then we go here. So you guys, there's no question. You guys knew these are racist images. Trust me. And I hope everyone lives a long, long life. Long, long life. Because I want you to look 50 years down the line. You know, I'm telling you right now, 50 years down the line, these images will be in a classroom and people will look at these images the same way that someone's breaking down these images. And they will say, damn, these are racist. How come people didn't see them as racist back then? But these are the popular images that we want to promote about black men and black women. And the cookie cutter has created a great documentary called Beyond Beats and Rhymes, where you see these brothers in front, and they're rapping all kinds of ratchet stuff and this, that, and the other. And the guy asked him, he's like, yo, you know this is leading towards like the degradation of your community, this, that, and then one of the rappers says, watch, let me bust a beat. And he starts spitting the most socially conscious stuff. It was incredible. And he said, I want to rap like that every day. But the folks up there, and he pointed to Universal, the building that housed Universal Records music group, and he said, but they're not going to sign me at that. They've created a cookie cutter. So in order for us to get our foot in the door, we gotta shuck and we gotta jive. So even on that level, he knew that, and he knew that he was a collaborator in that. But he knew the game. These black men, you know, Latino guy, Fat Joe, Lil Wayne, they're throwing the money up. They're not stacking it. That's what niggas do, right? That's what this nigga and Spit do. That's the conversations behind closed doors. Why not call it for what it is, right? They're throwing. That's what they do. They get money and they throw it up. They're not, you know. So let's have you throwing the money up. And so people that are listening to your album, the implication is they're going to look and they're going to see the music video and they're going to want to get that money, get it, and just go floss. Let's go floss. Let's go spend it frivolously. It is planned, and it's not black folks or Latino folks that just fall for this. White folks fall for this too. We just talked about it. We talked about vice versa. Every demographic in this country, if you don't have critical thinking skills, and that's not a major part of public school systems, you fall for it. You'll fall for it over and over again. But these are comforting images. Even with him with his gun, this is a comforting image, because this is the image that a lot of people want to see a black man of. That they see this is the image. Yeah, that's what they do. They wear their pants down low. They're gun toting. They're violent. They're hypersexual. They're going to holler at you. This, that, and the other. That's what we in our minds. That's what in a lot of folks' minds, especially in mainstream white America. That's their image, and that's why it's comforting. But this is discomforting. This is discomforting. And why is this discomforting? There's no weapons there whatsoever. But some folks are very, very petrified of an outspoken man or woman of color, a la Colin Kaepernick. Very, very scared. Very, very scared of an outspoken person of color. Tell me I'm wrong. History has told us that. America was scared of Martin Luther King. As soon as he started being outspoken against the military-industrial complex and speaking out against the Vietnam War, he was targeted for death. Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton. We can go on and on and on of black men, Native Americans, who were Chicanos, Latinos, who were outspoken and then were targeted violently because of how outspoken they were. Discomforting. These are all rappers, MCs, women and men of yesterday, Clean Latifah from back then. We have Bahamadia. We want to move fast forward. We can talk about Narubi Sela, who is currently, and listen, when you email me, I'll send you no shortage. And listen, if you can write this down as I close. And if you can't remember, email me. And I'll send you, I made a documentary, I made a feature documentary that is free on YouTube. It's called Hip Hop, White Supremacy and Capitalism. Yours truly is in it. I made the documentary, and within it is feature within it are some of those artists that I just referenced and their music videos, and the film breaks down to a T, gets down to the bare bone, it breaks down to the most minute detail about media and its relationship to hip hop. So as we close, this was on, you remember this song? American Gangster? Yeah. Funny, real funny. This is a show on BET. This was a very popular show on BET. About 10 years ago, right? Yeah, very popular show. It's funny. American Gangster is back with a brand new lineup of criminals. Correct me if I'm wrong. All the criminals, the vast majority of the criminals were black. Black or brown, the vast majority. They didn't feature Dick Cheney or George Bush. They didn't feature, J. Edgar Hoover. None of those people that are responsible for killing, killing tens of thousands of people with their policies and their direct orders to go and bomb and obliterate, you know, human life. No, they feature they feature black men because, hey, it's popular. And then we look at Most Def, and we remember Hurricane Katrina right here. 2 residents wade through chest-deep water after finding food or what? Finding bread and soda. If there's a hurricane and stuff is needing, all of us are going to local 7-Eleven because we're going to try to live. We're trying to eat. It's not about committing crime. We're trying to. And then, but here, look at this young brother right here, about 15, 16 years of age. So they're finding bread and soda. Sally and Billy, they're finding bread and soda. But this young man here, a young man walks through chest-deep floodwater after looting. So he right there is labeled. He's a criminal. He's a criminal. They're not criminals, but he's a criminal. After looting. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Associated Press, you can't make this up. It's right there under our noses. Right there under our noses. And you think that it's a conspiracy that I'm bringing up, that people of color are not labeled as criminals on a daily basis? Hell yeah, they are. Especially in cities like New York City, the violent crime rate has been declining over the last decade easily in a major city like New York, in New York. But that's not headline news. That's not headline news. What becomes profitable if there's crime, right? What becomes profitable? If we understand that violent crimes are declining, well, that lends itself to less money towards these mega weapons, these military-grade weapons that police departments are now warehousing. Military-grade weapons that are now being warehoused in major police departments across the country. Same thing with war. If there's no boogeyman, if there's no country out there for silly little Americans that have this much critical thinking skills, that just eat up whatever Wolf Blitzer or Tucker Carlson or Chris Matthews tells them on any of these major networks, okay? Because if once they tell them that oh, there's the boogeyman, that you gotta hate this country, they're coming for you, okay? If that boogeyman is eliminated, if there's a real discourse about diplomacy and peace, and actually, you know, trying to sit down with other countries, nations that this country, not you, but this government has been at odds with. If there's that discussion and we're moving towards peace, then what that means is there's something called the military-industrial complex. You can't justify that bludgeon, that burgeoning and that bloated military-industrial complex if there's the threat, and I say this, you know, facetiously, the threat of peace. If the threat of peace is out there, I can't justify buying more and more weapons. I can't justify giving more and more no-bid contracts to Halliburton and Northrop Grumman and building more Tomahawk helicopters or missiles, and Apache helicopters and Tomahawk missiles and those types of things. Think about it. Since the Korean War, 96% of the people that have been killed in any military engagement that the U.S. has been in have been civilians. Think about that for a moment. Think about that. Think about all the drone attacks that started under Bush, that continued under Obama, Obama launched more drone attacks than did Bush. 94%, 95% of those people killed were innocent civilians. Innocent civilians. Innocent civilians. So I believe that we should be rebuilding and building schools, rebuilding the school systems and not prisons. As we know, one of the biggest determiners of whether someone's going to commit crime or not is their education level. That's why in some states they base the building of prisons and juvenile detention centers on the reading levels, the below average reading levels of third graders and so forth. So instead of saying, oh, let's get these kids up to grade level and beyond, no, let's go. What we're going to do is we're going to build some prisons, because they're going to grow up and by 16, 17, 18, they're going to be criminals. So as we close, that's that. There was a lot more there, but that's my information. That is my cell phone number. Don't prank me. I got an app here where I can track you down. But that is my website. There's a lot of free content on my website, tons of free content on my website. And it's been an honor, and you know, I look forward to building with each and every one of as many of you that take my invitation to come visit me in the Bureau, to email me. Trust me, and Marsha will tell you, I mean what I say. I mean what I say. I'm not one of these hacks. Joe Richardson, one of my best friends, is not one of those hacks. That is one of the finest brothers that I know. One of the finest brothers I know, Dr. Joseph Richardson. He's the academic in the legacy of folks like Du Bois. Trust me, because he puts himself in the community to use his scholarship to help others. And that's what I try to do as well. I try to lend myself to the community and to do as much as I possibly can. And I put that challenge out to all of you. Don't just be known for somebody that made a lot of money. Yes, make your money, take care of your family, build that legacy wealth for your future. Build it for, even if you don't have kids, you know, find a way to impact the lives of children that are not yours biologically. You know, do that, but also, you know, do things bigger and better and more and beyond just yourself singularly. Well, you've got a lot of time. You've got a lot of time within a day to squeeze those things in. An hour a month, 2 hours a month, something like that. Just little things like that. And the last thing, don't ever be fearful of speaking out. There's a lot of people that really do what they can, and they are banking on you being cowards. And there's a lot of cowards amongst us. For every reason they could speak out, and they choose not to. Don't be like that. Don't be a coward. Be better than them. Be willing to speak out, because the more of us that speak out, if all of us speak out, they can't come for us. But if only Marshall's speaking out, they can come for him and take his job and say, yeah, you're out of here. But if everyone's speaking out, I've done is you created a culture. You created a culture. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Let's talk like one of these